Hello everyone, and last week we talked about how to deploy n8n on the Google Cloud, where we also have our OpenClaw that is installed. And this week, let's look at this demo. So here I'm using Telegram, and now I'm asking my OpenClaw to use this n8n workflow to collect this YouTube video. And now you can see that we have a new execution that running this workflow on n8n. And that is the response that we get. So here, that is a video title, the channel, when that has been published, some statistics, and also the topics of this video that covered. So this is what we're going to build today. So we already have the OpenClaw and also our n8n that on the Google Cloud VM. So today we're going to set up this workflow first on n8n. So that will extract the video ID, and also calling the YouTube API to collect data, clean the data, and also return the response. We're going to connect the OpenClaw and n8n by using a webhook, which means that we send out the request from the Telegram. OpenClaw send the request to the n8n. n8n will use the YouTube data API to collect data from YouTube, return the results, clean the results, and also send back the results to the Telegram. All right, so let's start. So first, we need to have an YouTube API key that from your Google Cloud to allow you to collect those YouTube metadata. So you don't need to set up a new cloud project. So we can just use our existing project, and then I'm going to search API keys. So YouTube data API v3. So let's open that one. We're going to enable this API key first. All right, so that has been enabled. So this API key allows you to collect public YouTube metadata, only the metadata, not the captions or transcripts. Once this API is enabled, let's go to credentials. And from here, we're going to create a new API key. For the name, let's just call it YouTube. And also the restrictions, let's just use the YouTube data API v3, and we can leave everything else as default, and we just go ahead, click create. Now we have this key that's been created, and of course you should not share this key with other people. And next, we go back to the n8n workflow. So here we're going to store those credentials. So let's go to credentials, and we're going to store the YouTube API key. So let's first add our credential. You can see they have a lot of different types of credentials. We're looking for the query author. And let's continue. And here, let's paste the value. Okay, so that is the API key that we created. The name will be the key. Let's also give the credentials a name. So let's just call it YouTube data API key. So now this credential has been stored onto n8n. Let's go back to create our workflow. And for this one, let's give it a name. So here we're going to call this workflow YouTube metadata demo. And here we're going to give it the first step. Let's just call it set. And here we're going to add a new field. So the name, we'll call it YouTube URL. And for the values, we're going to just test one of our existing values. So that is YouTube URL. So which means that when we run this workflow, it will send this URL to the second node. And next, we're going to add a new node to get video ID. So this is more like a data cleaning step. So here we're going to choose code, and we're going to choose the JavaScript. And for this node name, let's just call it get video ID, which means that when the previous node gave you this YouTube URLs, you're going to just extract the YouTube video. That is this one. So that is a video ID. So we're going to use this Python script. So copy and paste. Don't worry that if you cannot see this code, so everything will be posted on our LBSocial website. All right, so let's test this step. So here there's an input, and let's execute. So now you can see that based on this YouTube URLs, we are able to identify the video ID. All right, so our next step will be request the data. So let's add an HTTP request. And here, let's call this node request the metadata. So the previous node gave us the video ID. And now we're going to use this get method, and the URL will be using the Google's YouTube API. So here you can see v3. And now it's authentications. So this is the way we're going to bring our stored YouTube API. So we choose this genetic credentials. And here we're using this query authentications. Now you can see our YouTube API key is now being provided here. And we also need to add 2 more query parameters. The first one will be called part, and the values will be those 3 values. Again, do not worry that if you cannot see the details, so everything will be posted on the LBSocial. So basically, this will just tell the YouTube API that which part of the data that we want to collect. And next, we're also going to provide the video ID, and the value will from the previous node. So let's drag the video ID here. All right, so now let's run this node. So very nice. So here you can see we have the video tutorials, the title, the channel ID when it is being published, and also the descriptions. Okay, so let's continue. And next, we're going to add a data cleaning node. So the reason is because we have a lot of data, so we just need the descriptions, channels, and also titles, etc. So let's add a code, and we use JavaScript. And this one, we're going to call it cleaning data. And the code, again, will be provided on our LBSocial website. Okay, so let's clean the data and let's run it. So now this is a cleaned output. So we have the video ID, the URL, the title, descriptions. We also extracted the topics, so like the hashtags that are used in this video. We also collected the statistics, so number of comments, likes, video views, etc. All right, so now we have this workflow that is set up. So you can just provide any YouTube URL, and as long as that is public, we will get the ID, we will request that metadata, and we will clean the data and I'll return that back at the n8n. But how can we connect this one with our OpenClaw? And the answer is Webhook. So we're going to connect n8n server and together with OpenClaw by using a webhook, which means that our OpenClaw will send out a post request. In this post request, it will include the YouTube URL and as a JSON data, and the n8n will receive that JSON data and also will clean the data, get video ID, use YouTube API to collect data and clean the data. And finally, it will send the response back to OpenClaw. In the return data, it will have the titles, the topics, descriptions. All right, so now let's set up the webhook on the n8n side. So we no longer need those 2 more nodes. So instead, we're going to add a webhook node. So let's search webhook. And here, the method will be post. And the path will be the flow name. We are not going to give it authentications. And also, when do we respond? So we are going to use using response to webhook node, which means that we need to wait until n8n get a response and then return the response to the OpenClaw. All right, so this is a setup. So let's do a test. So let's say listen for the test event. And now I switch back to VS Code where this one connects to the Cloud VM. So I'm going to send out this post in the terminal directly. And now if we go back to the n8n, we can see that we got this error message. That is because the response we defined is response to the webhook node. And because we haven't defined that, so that's why we got this error. So let's connect those 2 nodes together. All right, so now let's add that response webhook. So let's search respond to webhook. And here we're going to choose the response with JSON data. And also we can choose this expression, which we just return all the JSON data that we received. Let's also connect those 2 nodes together. Now we're going to publish. So let's just go ahead and publish. You can give it version number. So I'll get 01. Just go ahead and publish. I'm going to ignore all the warnings for now. All right, so workflow now has been published. So anyone knows the webhook URL will be able to run this workflow. All right, so now we go back to the VS Code. We're going to call this webhook URL. And because they both on the same VM, so we can just call this localhost without telling the exact IP address. All right, so now you can see it worked, which means that the workflow now worked. So anyone that calling this URL and also with the provided JSON data will be able to collect the metadata of that YouTube video. How can we tell OpenClaw to use this webhook? So the easiest way is that we just build a customized skill so that every time we want to collect some YouTube videos, metadata, and we can just tell OpenClaw agent that to run that skill. So in our previous videos, we created multiple buttons, and for this specific type of the work, so I decided to use my main agent. So let's find out our main agent. So let's say hi to our main agent. Okay, great. So our main agent now responds. So now we're going to create a skill. So in one of our previous videos, we know that the easiest way to create skills is just using this skill creator. Okay, so let's say I tell the agent that I want to create a skill, and now we can see we are in this skill create mode. So here I'm just telling OpenClaw that what I want to do with this n8n. So this is a very long prompt. So basically, I'm asking that to create an OpenClaw skill named n8n YouTube metadata. And the purpose will be that when user asks OpenClaw to collect something from YouTube videos, you're going to send out this one. So that is a webhook that we just created. And also just tell me the results that returned by the n8n. So let's send out this prompt. All right, and now we can see that this skill has been created. So let's go to the workspace folder. And yes, indeed, we see that n8n skill that has been created. Let's expand. We can see that this is the skill.md file. So let's test this skill. Let's say collect this video. And here I provided the video URL. And now you can see that we got a result title, that OpenClaw multi-agent channel when that was published, and also some statistics. They also gave me some recommendation for next step. If we go back to the n8n dashboard and we go to executions, we can see that indeed was being executed and also that was a success. So that is a full workflow for this tutorial. We demonstrated that how OpenClaw can control an n8n workflow through a webhook. Instead of opening n8n manually, we can simply send a message through Telegram. OpenClaw receives that request, calls the n8n workflow, and also return the result to us. So this gives us a very flexible way to control automations from a phone, tablet, or any places where you can access Telegram. It also makes the system more stable. The logic stays in n8n, the credentials, API keys also stay in n8n, and OpenClaw only needs to trigger the workflow and also summarize the results. So we separate the AI agent from the automation pipeline. OpenClaw is responsible for interaction and reasoning, and n8n is responsible for the reliable workflow execution.